And Ed Watson had taken his knife and he had cut Santini's throat from one ear to the other, but not enough to get into the jugular veins.
Wait. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Santini had a little run-in with a guy by the name of Ed Watson. Ed Watson was shot out on the beach out here on the side of the store. Right here. Right down here in front.
Yeah. It's such a compelling story, a window into a time and a place unlike anything anybody now alive can possibly remember. Because when Edgar came here, probably in the 1890s, this was as wild as the Wild West.
And so Watson comes along.
Watson comes along, October 24th, 1910. Edgar was a bad hombre. He supposedly had an unusual business plan. On paydays, instead of paying his workers, he supposedly killed them. And then when he needed new workers, he'd just go out and hire a bunch of other people.
He would take them down there to his place and he might work them for a year, maybe two. After that much time, they'd start getting antsy and wanting to move on. Well, Watson would tell them that he could bring them up here to the Smallwood store where they could catch a schooner back to Tampa or Key West or wherever. And on the way, he would just shoot them, put a window sash weight on their body and throw their bodies overboard. And that went on around here for about 10 or 15 years.
So the people down there were scared of him. He was the toughest guy around, the toughest shot.
On his way down here, he's supposed to have killed a man in Arcadia.
Because he supposedly killed people out in Oklahoma Territory, including a legendary outlaw woman named Belle Star.
This lady, Hannah, was like 6 foot tall, weighed 300 pounds. Well, and he didn't put enough weight on her, so she floated. This is one of the window sash weights, or a window sash weight like what he used for tying it to the bodies that he was throwing overboard.
A lot of people didn't like him. A lot of people were scared of him. Maybe 10, 15, 20 guys, and they were all armed, heavily armed, and they were tired of Edgar Watson.
Watson came up with a 12-gauge double-barrel shotgun, and he pulled both triggers on this crowd of men, but his shells had got wet. He had bought them here from Mrs. Smallwood, or at the store where it was at the time. He had bought these shells from her. Unknowing to him, they had got wet. When he pulled the trigger, the primers fired, but the powder didn't. It's what they call a snap shell.
So as he stepped out of that boat, they all let loose with their guns. And supposedly before he hit the beach, hit the sand, he was a dead man.
Well, they said the first shot hit Watson between the eyes, and the other 30 rounds were just kind of all over his body. These men were scared of Watson. They knew what he could do with a pistol. They knew what he could do with that shotgun, and would do. So they didn't quit shooting until they were run out of shells.
The fascinating aspects of the story, one that I really love, is that Edgar Watson was shot right next to the Smallwood store, which opened in 1906. Here we are, last time I checked, the year's 2017, and the Smallwood store is still there.